Hello, and welcome to the Steps to Happiness show on Soul Liberty TV. I'm your host, Teresa Greco, happiness coach, author, editor, writer, educator, and Reiki master. Are you ready to take the necessary steps towards true, unwavering happiness? If so, the Steps to Happiness is for you. On my show, you will learn about the principles and practices that lead to true inner happiness because guess what? It isn't found in our external environment, but within ourselves instead. Together with my guests, we'll explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices, and together we'll advise you on the actionable steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. The happiness principle for today's show is finding our happiness in living our authentic selves. Part of my story that I shared last week is how I had lost myself in the living of my life and trying to please everybody else by being the perfect mom, wife, daughter, daughter-in-law, sister, sister-in-law, friend, employee. I wasn't honoring, respecting, and most of all, loving myself. I had allowed culture, society, religion, my family, and friends tell me who to be. From a young age, I unconsciously adopted beliefs about myself and my outside world that limited who I was and who I believed I could be in this world. The majority of our belief systems are handed down by well-meaning people like our families, our teachers, religious leaders. Unfortunately, not all the beliefs I inherited supported the expression of my authentic self. It was only when I reached a point in my life where I felt lost and that something was missing did I realize through the practices and principles that I followed that what was really missing in my life was my true, authentic self. I had been living my small self for most of my life instead of my big self. There's a quote by Marianne Williamson that says, "We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing it small does not serve the world." So, what makes us play it small? Well, it's our unconscious belief systems, a deeper inner voice that tells us that we're not worthy, that tells us that we're not able to brag about our accomplishments because we don't want people to like us. Or there's the belief that we'll never measure up to other people because we don't have what it takes to be as good as them. These beliefs came from words that were said to us growing up and got programmed into our minds about who we are and what we are capable of. Words like these that I said to myself on repeat. You're not smart enough. You're not athletic enough. You're not attractive enough. You don't have what it takes to achieve that. It's people's negative opinions and beliefs about how the world works that were programmed into our computer, our mind, which limits the way we see ourselves and who we can be and what we can accomplish. So it's about taking the time to think about, to become cognitively aware of the thoughts and to ask yourself, where did these beliefs about yourself come from? Who said these things to you? And if they're actually true, because if you don't look at them, they will continue to zap your chances of joy because they limit you. There's nothing good about shrinking ourselves so that other people won't feel insecure around us. We are all meant to shine and to share what's unique and special within each of us. It's not just in some of us. We all have it. And when we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give people permission to do the same. As we free ourselves from our own fear to be who we really are, our presence automatically liberates others to feel that they can as well. Only when we can unabashedly embrace who we really are can we truly live our happiest lives. With that being said, I'd like to welcome my first guest to the show. She's a self-mastery expert and multi-award-winning best-selling author, Valerie Renee Shepherd. Hello, and welcome to the show.
Hello there, Teresa. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is a treat indeed. Thank you.
Valerie, you, like myself, are an expert in happiness, and you share the same view of happiness as I do. Can you share a little bit about your happiness journey that brought you to do the work that you do today?
I'd love to. My happiness journey that brought me to the work I do today is a story not very dissimilar from yours, Teresa. It's a story of a woman who kind of woke up at a period in her life when she was experiencing all manner of success. I really believe that I had reached the pinnacle of my career. I was living in my dream house in this 24-hour guard gated neighborhood. I was driving my dream convertible car. It was when everything seemed like it was firing all cylinders, and there was no reason for me to be anything but happy, according to the training that I had on what brings happiness. So I had checked those boxes, tick, 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 tick. And I was like, yes, victory. You know how you do that victory dance?
Mhm.
And then the wheels started to fall off the cart. I wasn't as
Mhm.
successful as I had been doing the exact same career. And I'm like, okay, what happened? I started feeling like even there was some people trying to sabotage me. That might have been a story just in my head. I don't know. I don't really believe that, but that's what I was thinking. And I went into this place where, I call it hollow victories. You and I talk about the same thing, where we have all these beautiful things, but somehow there's an emptiness inside. Hollow
Mhm.
victory. And I went on a journey to find out, is this really supposed to be my life? Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't feel true to me. Because if it were true to me, the happiness wouldn't come like this. It wouldn't be so fleeting when it arrived. And it would give me a deeper sense of fulfillment and a deeper energy of connection to my higher power and my highest self. And it felt disconnected, felt like two different experiences. And there was a place in me where I knew something wanted to be expressed. I could feel that something was trying to get my attention. In my book, I talk about my soul kept calling me and I was looking other places. Like, I hear that voice, but what's that?
Mhm.
I was just off asleep at the wheel of my life.
Mhm.
And so that journey that started a multi-year, um, several $1,000s, lots of courses, several teachers, experience. I wouldn't call it looking for happiness. I would call it looking for the seat of my soul, like looking for who am I really? Uh,
Mhm.
when I get past personality, identity, and conditioning, what's really in there? And is that really the key that I've been looking for?
Mhm. And that makes sense because, yeah, you and I both speak about happiness as who we are. It's our essential nature that when we are born into this world, we are love, peace, and happiness. But then the world takes us away from that and has us feeling other emotions other than that. And so I believe a big part of that is our spiritual self. And as you said, you kind of felt like it was your soul or your spirit, like, knocking you on the shoulder saying, hello, there's a part of me that you're not connecting with. There's a part of me that you're not nurturing. And I believe we're not conditioned to connect and nurture that part of ourselves, that our physical, mental, emotional self are ones that we talk about mainstream, but the spiritual self for some reason gets neglected. So I would love to dive into what that 4-step happy to be me process is today, where we can, if you could show us how we can begin to tap into our inner happiness according to this process that you've developed, please. What would step
Yes,
one
yes.
be?
Step one is wake up to the truth of who you are. Wake up to the truth of what you are. So, in any given moment when we have an inner dialogue going that is negative, when the I can'ts come up, um, and it may not be words. What I used to feel was a contraction in my chest and a sense of like my shoulders caving in and a sense of I don't belong. That's what it was, sadness, and it was I don't belong here. And what was being expressed was what was being felt was conditioning around what it means to be in a soul in a Black body in a world that has got a very strong doctrine of white supremacy running through every culture. And um, the whole idea that's not a good place to be, that being Black in a predominantly, white supremacist world is deadly, dangerous, ugly, awful. And that contraction was because personality and identity was trying to rule me, but my soul was saying, that's not who you are. That's not what you are.
Mhm.
You are image and likeness of the Most High Divine. You are love, eternal, immortal manifestation of the divine. And so
Mhm.
the idea is to align with that. Like, wake up is to go, oh, look at me. I'm in judgment. I'm in anger. I'm in self sacrifice. I'm in people pleasing. That's not who I am. And so, how do I
Mhm.
wake up to the fact that I'm being that? I'm talking that way. I'm expressing that way. I'm feeling that way. And take that opportunity to come back into alignment with the truth of who I am and like be that. Oh, yes, that's right. That's right. And as soon as I do that, my shoulders soften, my voice drops, I drop into my body a lot more deeply. I feel anchored into Mother Earth, and I know that I'm coming from a place of wisdom and divine love. So that's step one. And you can do it at any moment. It's not this one time thing and you're forever awake. I tell you, no, every day I remind myself, okay, remember, let's remember, let's remember. And then step two is shake up and
Oh,
release everything.
I
Oh,
just I
yes.
just want to just make a comment to that. Is that
Yeah.
awareness is really that first step. That part of my story was approaching 40 that allowed me to step back and to evaluate my life and to become. And I did that by asking questions of my life. That there seemed to be this feeling that something was off, as you said, something was missing, and those questions were the catalyst to me going deeper into the thoughts and beliefs that I had about myself, about the world. And so awareness is, I believe, built into your step number one, because it is so important for us to become aware of what's not serving us, aware of the things that that we're identifying with that are false and aren't serving us and really are not really who we are. That, as you said, we are, and I share that belief that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that we are made in the reflection of God. We are love, peace, and happiness, and that if we're not feeling that in our human body, then we need to awaken to that, and then probably move into step number two, which is, now that we are aware of the fact that we're not in alignment with who we really are, that we need to make changes. Is that what we're going to go into for step two?
Yeah. Yes. Step two is shake up. So it's wake up. Step two is shake up and release everything that's not in alignment with step one. So anything going on in the inner realm, so that inner voice, that inner energy, anything in there that isn't aligned with knowing that you are this higher self, peace, love, joy, and freedom, emotional freedom, that has to go. So it's shake up and release anything that is not in alignment. So step two is all about, once you do the noticing. So I, s- I definitely teach the noticing as a part of step one. That brings the awareness. Notice who you're being when you think you're being you. Who is that? Where did that come from? Is that a grandmother? Is that a teacher? Is that a person on the, for me, a lot of teaching happened on the playground, right? In the 60s, you
Mhm.
played in the playground, not on a computer. And so
Mhm.
noticing that and then shaking up and releasing. So the release, and I do lots of different release practices, but the release is
Mhm.
about anchoring in the divine self while we lovingly and with compassion um, help the false self realize its disconnection from the divine.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I believe and teach that anybody who is acting in a way that doesn't feel like love, that doesn't show joy, that isn't in compassion and harmony and tolerance, I don't see them as evil. I just see them as disconnected further. Like the
Mhm.
further you can get the truth of who you are,
Mhm.
the less you're going to reflect
Mhm.
that in your behavior, in your words, in your deeds, etc. So
Mhm.
I'm about shrinking that distance. We all have that distance. It's been conditioned into us. There's no other way.
Mhm.
So it's about waking up to it and then going, huh,
Mhm.
where did I learn that? Not to,
Mhm.
have retribution and resentment for how you learned it. Who cares? It's really about it's not serving me. It's not good or bad or right or
Mhm.
wrong. It's is being this way serving me? Does it make me feel good at the end of the day or in that moment? Am I feeling empowered? Do I feel like I'm in expansive surrender energy, like bring it on, like a yes, yes, I'll take it? Or am I in a contracted small self? So the shake up step is about like, let's rattle the cage a little bit and throw out the stuff
Mhm.
that's not serving me to be the divine essence that I know that I
Mhm.
am from doing step one.
Mhm. And I talked about that on my last show about uncovering who we really are, that we've adopted layers of conditioning and paradigms and habits and belief systems that really cover our eyes from knowing who that true authentic self is. And that I believe that part of our purpose is to uncover who we really are by removing those layers. And I like what you said about being able to identify what those layers are with those moments where they don't feel right, that if we followed what we would find our happiness if we followed how we felt about a situation versus how we thought about it. So we're conditioned to say, well, what do I think about this? But instead, if we said, how do I feel about this? Following how we felt would bring us towards our happiness versus rationalizing a situation that is not good for us by saying, well, it's okay. He's my boss. Well, it's okay. They've had a bad day. Well, it's okay. But on the inside, we know it doesn't feel right. So if we continually check in with ourselves and say, how do I feel about this? And then if it doesn't feel good, then asking some of those probing questions that you mentioned. All right, what's step
Yes,
3?
yes, indeed. And you talk about the rational mind, and one of my favorite quotes I put in my book is from Albert Einstein, one of the most powerful rational minds in my lifetime. And his quote is that the rational mind is a faithful servant, the intuitive mind is a sacred
Mm-hmm.
gift. We have created a society that worships the servant and has forgotten the gift. And that's why when he says intuitive mind, to me, that's the heart, that's the seat of the soul, that's the feeling nature of us. And we are so
Mm-hmm.
often taught to not allow our feelings to breathe. So I bet
Mm-hmm.
everybody can remember a time when they were upset and somebody told them, "You don't need to be so upset," or someone told them, "Stop crying, like you just hurt yourself and you're upset," and someone tells you not to do that. And they're well-meaning.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned through time to quiet the feeling nature of ourselves and only use the intellect, and that's not serving us in the world. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Step three is make up a new story of you in your life. So it's not just make up the story of the outer life and living that, because I have some really great stories for my outer life, but it has to start in here because universal laws are controlling the universe at all times. And so whatever I want to see in my outer world has to be inside first, hermetic principle, as within, so without. So I've got to come here. And so the making up of the new story is who am I being in my life? Am I being personality and identity? Or am I being authentic, true, natural
Mm-hmm.
self? And I show up in joy, even though we're about to have a very difficult conversation about some topic. And lately, I've been doing a lot of work in unconscious bias and anti Black racism. Those are not quote unquote fun or easy conversations. And
Mm-hmm.
I can still be in my joy as I address the dynamics, as I facilitate people through a process to understand and then to be leaders for change. And so step 3 is all about me. Like, okay, so am I a Black woman? Do I have to show up talking about that or being that or worried about how other people see me as that? Or can I be my essence? And in our essential nature as spiritual beings, there's no race, there's no gender, none of that stuff matters. That's a human realm, human, little
Mhm.
human thing. And so, can I be that even while I'm interacting as Valerie Renee Shepherd, the human being in this space and time? So, the
Mhm.
make up the story is an opportunity in every moment, not once for and then you're done, but in every moment. When you're at the grocery store line, when someone cuts you off in traffic, when you're sitting and thinking, what do I want to do with my life? What's my purpose? When you've failed a course, when you've gotten an A+, like in every avenue of life, when you're feeling sick, when something catastrophic happens, like I had a brain hemorrhage. And, these steps saved me because I could have
Mhm.
slid into a deep abyss with what I up to in going on in my physical body. So making up the story is okay, in this moment, I'm feeling a
Mhm.
lot of sadness, a lot of shame. And how do I feel those things without becoming them? How do I stay the essence that I am in this moment and bring that into the situation? And then let's see what happens in that situation.
Mhm. What I love about that step is that when you're aligning yourself with who you really are by connecting and nurturing all aspects of yourself, your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual self, that you get an understanding of what it feels like to be who you really are, right? That what that energetic vibration is. And then as the world pulls you away from that, you have a return point, right? You know what it feels like when you're whole, perfect, and healed, which is what we always are. But when the world pulls us away from that, then we can start to say, oh, I don't feel good right now. What do I need to do to realign myself? So that's why it's so important for the step 3 is to know what that light and that truth is, so that as the world pulls you away, you can and bring yourself back to who you really are, because you know what it feels like when you're in alignment. So knowing what those strategies are that return you to who you really are, because you know how amazing that feels when you know it, is so important. So what's part of step number 4?
So step 4, the final step is called take up the reins and go live it. So it's wake up, shake up, make up, and take up. And take up the reins and go live it means what practices, what are the outward action? Now we're shifting from inner to outer. What needs to happen in this outer realm? Um, does it mean I have to quit my job, or knowing how to show up in my job in my higher self changes what that job feels like? Maybe for some people it's leave the job. For others it's,
Mhm.
oh, now that I have some um, extra tools in my toolkit of being the authentic
Mhm.
me, I can show up in a higher vibration, and the whole it's going to change everything. And so
Mhm.
maybe not the job. It may be, do I need to do this on my own and slog through? And for me, slogging through usually took a lot longer than when I had a spiritual counselor, somebody there to bounce things off of and kind of keep helping me move forward. And, Olympic athletes have coaches the whole time they're training. So the fact that you have a coach or a mentor or a guide doesn't have anything to do with your capability. It has to do with your
Mhm.
commitment where it is you're trying to go. It's not about right now.
Mhm.
It's about where you
Mhm.
want to be tomorrow. So for some people, the take up step is about, okay, who do I want to work with? What things do I want to change? Is it about going to the gym, or is it about going to a prayer practice? um, do I even understand what prayer is? Is it rooted in some old religiosity? Not old being bad, just something that's not serving me. And so do I want to change that to something that serves me more? What kind of food am I eating? What kind of beverages am I drinking? How am I treating my body? Am I in compassion with myself along the journey, or am I the chief jailer and um, executioner to myself? So take up the reins is where, boots on the ground, essential nature connected to the irrational mind, and we bring it forth into the world as the higher vibration self. Hashtag raising my vibration. That's what we're doing.
Mhm. Mhm. It's the action part of it. It's the part that